In this lesson today, we are looking at shapes and objects. The shapes and objects that we'll be looking at include the square, the rectangle, the triangle, and the circle. So these shapes here are all called the two-dimensional shapes. So these four are called the two-dimensional shapes. So in these four shapes, we are going to look at the perimeter and the area. So that's where the concentration is going to be. But now, the square itself, if you take 6 squares, you put them together, create a box that is called a cube. And when you take a rectangles of some sizes, it will give you a rectangular prism. So there must be 6 rectangles as well. And then you will have a triangle in 2 dimensions that will give rise to a triangular prism. So a triangular, it's like a box that is in triangle. And it will have 5 sides. And then if you have a circle, then 2 circles create a cylinder, more like a pipe. So these ones here, that's where we're going to look at volume and surface area. So volume is when we look at the amount of space inside of a container, whilst the surface area is when we look at the amount of space used to make this object. All right. Now, first things first, calculating perimeter and area of the two-dimensional shapes. So the first one that we have here is a square. We know that a square, it must have all sides being equal. In this case, the sides are 8 centimeters. So we'll begin by calculating the perimeter. So perimeter of a square is going to be equals to. So remember, perimeter is the distance around the shape. So we'll simply say 4 times a side because it has 4 sides. So let's go ahead and substitute. So we'll have 4 multiplied by 8 centimeters. And this will give us a total of 32 centimeters. All right. And next to calculate the area of a square. So the area of a square has the formula side squared, which simply means we'll simply say it's going to be 8 centimeters all squared. And this will give us a total of 64 square centimeters. The next one is the rectangle. Now with the rectangle, we can use the same method which we are using for the rectangle to calculate for the square because they are basically similar, except that the square has all sides being equal. So in this case, for the perimeter of a rectangle, say perimeter will be equals to 2 into length plus breadth. So from here, we'll simply say P is equals to 2 open bracket, the length is 10 centimeters plus the breadth of 8 centimeters. So we'll have 10 plus 8 centimeters. This will give us 80. So it will be 2 into 80. It will be 18, not 80. So it will be 18 centimeters. So 2 times 18. So this will be 36 centimeters. So the distance around this rectangle will be 36 centimeters. Next, we calculate the area. So we say area, the area of a rectangle will be length times breadth. It's the famous one. So we can simply say this will be 10 centimeters for the length multiplied by 8 centimeters for the breadth. So this will give us 80 centimeters squared. All right. Next, we look at the triangle. For the triangle, we know that perimeter is still the distance around the shape. So we'll simply say, in this case, it will be A plus B plus C. So it is this side, and this side. So let's go ahead and substitute. So we'll have A is 5 centimeters plus B is 6 centimeters plus C, which is 25 centimeters as well. So this will give us a total of 16 centimeters. Now we notice something, that this triangle has a height which is 4 centimeters. So this is going to be used in calculating the area, because area of a triangle is going to be half times the base times the height. So we'll say half times the base is 6 centimeters, this side here, times the height. This is the height, this one here, which is 4 centimeters. So this will give us a total of 12 centimeters squared. All right. Next, we look at the circle. With a circle, we don't talk of perimeter, but we call the perimeter of a circle, we call it the circumference. And it has the formula 2 pi r, where r is the radius. So it has a radius of 4 centimeters, so we substitute and say c will be equals to 2 times pi is 3,142 times the radius of 4 centimeters. And this will be equals to 25,136 centimeters, or we can simply round it off to 25,14 centimeters. So which means the distance from here going all around is 25,14 centimeters. And the area will be, the formula for area will be pi r squared. So which means therefore it will now become 3,142 times 4 centimeters, which must be squared, So this will then become a total of 50,27 centimeters squared. All right, so that's it for perimeter and area of two-dimensional shapes. Now let's quickly look at the area, the volume and surface area of three-dimensional objects. We don't call them shapes, we call them objects, or we call them solids. So a cube is created by 6 squares. So there is a square for the top side here, and obviously in the bottom side as well. And then there's a square that goes on the left, and there's a square on the right. And since there is a square also on the front here, there is also going to be a square at the back. So there's 6 of them. Now, if we calculate the volume, we'll say the volume will be equals to side cubed. Remember, for the area of a square, we said side squared. In this case, we say volume is side cubed. So in this case, we'll have V is equals to 8 centimeters, and it will be cubed. Now, 8 centimeters cubed will be equals to 512 centimeters cubed. All right. For surface area, we say surface area, because there are 6 sides that are equal, we'll simply say 6 times, it will be 6 times a side squared. So in other words, it will be the areas of 6 areas of the sides of a cube. So in this case, we'll simply say SA is equals to 6 times what is the length of a side is 8 centimeters squared. And this will be 6 times 64 centimeters squared. And 6 times 64, this will give us 348 centimeters squared. So that's what the surface area of a cube will be, which means the material that was used to create this cube is 348 centimeters squared. Let's look at the rectangular prism. So the volume of a rectangular prism will be length times breadth times height. So this will then be V is equals to, the length is 10 centimeters and the breadth is 8 centimeters and the height is 5 centimeters. So then we say the volume of this rectangular prism will be 400 centimeters cubed. So you'll notice that every time we're dealing with volume, it is always in cubic centimeters or cubic units. Then the surface area of this one, since the rectangular prism is similar to the cube, it also has 6 sides, except that the sides are not of the same size. So we say surface area is equals to 2 open bracket of the length times the breadth, which means is the bottom rectangle. So we say it's 2 because it's the bottom. This one here at the bottom is the same as the one at the top. So there's 2 of them. So we say 2 times the length times the breadth plus the length and the height. So we mean this one here and this one here. So this is the rectangle that we're talking about. So it's the front and the back. Plus, then we say the breadth and the height. And this one here will be the breadth here and this height. So it will be breadth and height. So there's always 2 of them, the left hand side and the right hand side. So we substitute and say 2 open bracket. I'm opening a square bracket. Then I'll say the length is 10 centimeters multiplied by the breadth of 8 centimeters plus open bracket. The length is still 10 centimeters times the height of 5 centimeters plus the breadth is 8 centimeters times 5 centimeters, and we close the bracket. So now for the surface area we will have 2 into 8 centimeters plus 50 centimeters. So 10 times 5 is, it's 80 centimeters squared, 50 centimeters squared, and 8 times 5 is 40 centimeters squared as well. So from here the total will be 340 centimeters squared. All right, so this one is a little bit complicated, but if you follow it correctly, you should be able to do it. Next is the rectangular prism. The triangular prism. Now with the triangular prism, we spoken about the triangle, and we saw that this it only had this section here only. But now this one here, just like a cube of a triangular Melrose cheese. So it has a certain height or a certain depth here, and it is given a capital letter H. So when we're dealing with area, we would say area of a triangle is half the base times the height. But now for the volume, we say the volume of a triangular prism will be half base times height times a perpendicular height. So then now we'll have V is equals to half times what is the base is 6 centimeters times the height of 4 centimeters and times the height of 2 centimeters. So this should give us a total of 24 centimeters squared. 24 centimeters cubed, beg your pardon. And the surface area, the formula for surface area, it will be, let me just call it SA it will be A plus B plus C, close bracket, times the perpendicular height plus B times the base times the height. So if we substitute here, we'll have A is 5 centimeters plus 6 centimeters plus 5 centimeters multiplied by 2 centimeters plus B is 6 centimeters multiplied by 4 centimeters. So this should give us a total of, the first section will be 32 centimeters plus this one here 24 centimeters. So we'll have a total of 56 centimeters squared. All right. So that's it with a rectangular prism. And then finally we look at the volume and surface area of the cylinder. Now the volume of a cylinder is given by pi r squared h, which means therefore we'll say the volume is 3,142 for pi, and the radius of 4 centimeters, and the height of this cylinder will be 10 centimeters. So in total we'll get 502,72 centimeters cubed. All right. Now the surface area of a cylinder is a little bit complex, but you shouldn't worry because you will get these formulas. So you have, because you have two circles, one at the top and one at the bottom, so we say the area of the circle is pi r squared. So because there are two of them, so we put 2 plus 2 pi r, and you'll notice that this one here is the formula of the circumference, and then you multiply by h. So I'll just go ahead and substitute. So we have 2 times 3,142 for pi times the radius squared, which is 4 centimeters, and it must be squared. Then we say plus, we'll now say plus 2 times 3,142 times the radius of 4 centimeters times the height, this one here, which is 10 centimeters. So this should give us, for the first section, it should be 100,544 centimeters squared plus 251,36 centimeters squared, and finally we'll have 351,904 centimeters, which will simply round it off to 351,9 centimeters squared. So that's it with, in terms of calculating volume of the surface area, volume of and the surface area of three-dimensional objects. But I want you to notice something here, that when we did the area of the area of a square, all right, the area of a square, we said it is 64 square centimeters because we squared this one here. But in particular, I want to look at in other areas except for the square. Area of the rectangle, its length times breadth. And the area of a triangle, its half base times height. And then the area of a circle is pi r squared. But now when you go into volume, it means the volume is going to be area times the height, because the volume will contain, if we're looking for the rectangle, it will contain times h here. For the area of a circle, it will be times h here. This one here times the perpendicular h. So I want you to notice what we did here. So for this one, the volume, it's length times breadth, right? It's the area times h. All right. For this one here, it's half base times height times h. This one here is the volume, is pi r squared times h. So which means volume will always be the area of the base times the height.